Real quick, before the video starts, I'd like to personally say thank you for 300 subscribers. And if you haven't watched the first 100 days of this series, I strongly recommend it. There's a little card at the top right of the screen right now if you want to click on it and go watch the first 100 days. Anyway, I hope you enjoy these next 100 days. To start off on day 101, we immediately went to our new NPC that sold even more bombs now because we were in hard mode. We bought the most threatening bomb that we could find, which was the Giga Nuke, and we went ahead and threw it on the ground, and, well, it made quite a big circle. Right after, on day 102, I went down to the Brimstone Biome to go get myself some Essence of Chaos, which I could later combine with Essence of Element and Frostbolt and the Flare Bolt to make a new powerful weapon. On day 103, we went out exploring with my newfound weapon, and we found this biome called the Astral Biome, which had a ton of boss drops and loot drops that helped out the mage class a ton. On days 104 to 106, I headed over to the sand biome because I needed a special drop from sand elements called the Forbidden Fragments. That I can make a ton of new armor sets with, and later found even more uses for them. On day 07, the Goblin Army arrived, and with my newfound armor, I thought it was going to be really easy to fight them. But Calamity makes the Goblin Army in hard mode 1,000 times harder, and this was extremely hard to fight, and everyone died multiple times. On day 108, we all headed back down into the dungeon to see what's new from the dungeon in hard mode this time, which there's a lot of new things added from the hard mode dungeon from all of the mods. On days 109 and 110, we headed down into the underground to go get the new hard mode ores that the world had to offer. Also, while we were down there, we found the hollowed biome, which was extremely beneficial because now we had crystals and we also could find the wizard. And then on days 111 to 113, the pirate army invaded. It didn't pose that big of a threat because we had all of our armor that we needed for the stage of the game, as well as our weapons. On day 114, I headed back into the sand biome because I found out there were actually 2 special drops that sand elements only dropped, as well with Forbidden Fragments. They dropped a special item called the Element in a Bottle and a Rare Element in the Bottle. These spawned 2 magical creatures that heal you and do damage around you. As you can see, at the time, I only had the Rare Element in the bottle, but this is what the other element looks like. And these combined to make a really awesome weapon. On day 115, I realized that our entire underground under our base was corruption, so I got a Contaminator and I decided to purify most of it, at least as much as I could, which it didn't really do much to spread, but it helped a little. On the night of day 116, we decided to spawn in our first ever hard mode boss, which was, as we called it, the Cuphead Boss, because it had so many balls and projectiles to dodge that it reminded all of us of Cuphead. Anyway, the boss was quite easy to defeat, and it didn't drop anything too special since it was at the very beginning of hard mode. And then, the night right after we fought the Cuphead boss, we decided to spawn in the Destroyer. The Destroyer is the first ever vanilla boss that we fought in hard mode. It didn't pose too much of a threat, although most of us died, but we were able to respawn fast enough to defeat the boss. After we fought the Destroyer, the day after we got some more potions, and then worked up our armor a little bit more, and then we spawned in another boss. This boss also didn't pose too big of a threat, seeing as how we all thought, even though it was supposed to be harder than the other Cuphead boss, that this one was actually easier than it, which was really surprising that I could almost just solo the boss alone, as you can see. This boss didn't pose such a threat, and we ended up defeating it, and it didn't drop anything too useful, so it wasn't really a help. And then the night right after we fought the other boss, we spawned in the twins as well, because we thought we were doing really good on bosses and didn't really need potions or anything. So we decided to spawn in the twins, and it was a quite easy fight with Ichor. Ichor really makes the change in this game because it lowers our enemy's defense by so much. So if you're also doing a Calamity playthrough, I highly recommend Ichor or any other defense lowering buffs. Right after we fought the twins, we decided to go out and look for our actual above ground hollowed biome. Sadly, our above ground hollowed biome was so small because it was cut off by both the jungle and the dungeon. This caused for some problematic times when we wanted some pixie dust or any other above ground hollowed things, so we had to wait until it spreads all the way towards our base, which caused for some more problems afterward. After we found the Hollowed Biome, we decided to go back down into Hell to fight the Wall of Flesh one more time, because most of us did not get the preferred emblems that we wanted for our classes, so it didn't take too long to get them because the Wall of Flesh is quite easy now at the stage of the game we're in, especially with Icor. Once again, I'm recommending Icor a ton for any boss really, because it just does so much damage. As you can see, we're just lasering it with the Star Cannon and Icor. For the next 3 days, we were in space looking around for wyverns. For some reason, wyverns don't spawn whatsoever in Calamity, or at least barely at all we saw, because we were able to get one pair of wings throughout this entire time we were in space. Eventually we did get everyone wings, but that took quite a while longer. On day 125, don't ask me what I was doing, because I was just sitting right next to the elevator for an entire day. I have no clue what I was doing at the time because I'm editing this way after when we recorded it, so what I was doing, I have no clue. I was probably having a deep conversation with the person sitting next to me with a giant sword. On day 126, we all headed over to the snow biome to go spawn in the next Calamity boss in hard mode, Cryogen. Cryogen was an extremely cool boss to fight, and probably one of my favorite in the entire series because it's just his mechanics. Also, the entire time you were fighting it, it had the north lights right above you in the fight. Even if you died, you could still see them, which was extremely cool, which we died quite a few times. But we eventually killed him and got some pretty cool loot. It also dropped an NPC, which I think that's an amazing mechanic in Calamity, and a lot of other mods do it. And I think the main game should also do it, like with the Moonlord it drops a special NPC or something. And then for the next few days, I was sitting in the Brimstone biome making a stadium for the next boss, the Brimstone Element. The Brimstone Element also drops a special drop that is needed in the Heart of Elements, my goal to make, because this Heart of Elements spawns a lot of women around you, and, you know, that's something I can't do in real life, so might as well do it in Terraria. After I finished making the arena, we all headed up to our big long stretch to go fight Skeletron Prime. Skeletron Prime didn't pose too much of a threat to us because he is a vanilla boss after all, and we were preparing for Calamity bosses, so it was pretty easy, and we also unlocked a ton of stuff due to his death. Also, real quick before we continue on with the video, if any of you are wondering how I have golden hearts at the top right corner, that's because all of the mechanical bosses drop life fruits in one of the mods we have. Anyway, back to the 100 days. For the next 5 days, all 4 of us were all down into the jungle mining chlorophyte. If you're wondering why, chlorophyte is extremely necessary in our mod, also because all of us need armor sets as well as other special armor sets such as Spectre armor or Shroomite armor. You could also imagine during those 5 days we accidentally spawned Plantera quite a few times. None of the times we actually defeated her, so don't worry. On day 136 we decided to spawn in another one of the fairy Cuphead bosses. This boss didn't pose a threat whatsoever to us and was honestly one of the easiest bosses I think we've ever fought, including pre-hard mode. And then on day 137 we realized that we were one chlorophyte short of having a full set for everyone, which sadly I was forced to be the one person to go get it, seeing as how I was the one person without the full set. The next day we went over to the ocean and fought another one of the Cuphead bosses. This boss didn't pose a threat whatsoever because at this stage of the game you're supposed to fight the boss. You shouldn't have chlorophyte. So we made quick use of this boss and got a little money from it. For the next 6 days, and yes, I said 6 days, I was looking around for an orange bloodroot. You might be wondering why. It's because an orange bloodroot can be crafted with a couple souls and hollowed bars to make a new item that increases your health by 25. This might not seem like much, but in the Calamity mod, you need everything you can get. Once I finally got my orange bloodroot and crafted the item that increases my health by 25, we went down to the Brimstone Element arena to go fight the Brimstone Element. And we failed once, but we eventually succeeded, and then I got the item that was needed to craft the waifu charm. For the next 2 days, we went down into the underground to go make a chlorophyte farm. And if you didn't know, if you place a piece of chlorophyte ore near some mud blocks, it eventually spreads to the nearby mud blocks. So this made getting chlorophyte extremely easy for now on. After we finished the chlorophyte farm on day 149, don't even ask me what I was doing. I think I got really bored waiting for people to get on so we could fight the next boss, so I decided to make what I guess you could call a dungeon. On day 150, I headed back down into the mines to go mine for lead, because lead is used for a ton of the spawners later on in the game. On day 151, I went into the skies to go fight a cloud elemental, because the cloud elementals drop one of the resources I need for the heart of the elements. On day 152, we went back down into the underworld to farm the wall of flesh for a special drop that he only drops. This drop is a 1% chance of dropping, and well, I don't know how to put it, but we lost to the wall of flesh. How? That's a wonderful question because we are way more kitted than we were before. On day 153, we just looked around the boss checklist to look at the next bosses that we had to fight and what we need for their spawners. For the next 2 days, we headed over to the Astral Biome so we can go get Stardust. We need Stardust because it can craft something that permanently increases mana by 20. This is actually really useful because I run out of mana extremely quickly, and when you use a mana regeneration potion, it lowers your damage from mana weapons by 40%, which is a ton. On day 156, I found out that you can actually buy Wyvern spawn eggs, so I decided to buy about 20 of them and spawn them on all of my friends, which was absolutely hilarious when they were fighting a basic boss like the Desert Scourge. The next day I found this little menu that one of the mods adds that lets you control what your minions do. I think this is a really good addition, and without whips in 1.13, this is almost necessary to be a good summoner. On day 158, we decide to refight the Destroyer. This is because we need some more souls that he drops. Also, some of us didn't get enough hollowed bars to make the things that we need in the future. On day 159, the pirate invasion came again, and we made quick work of it and just got a little extra money from it. On days 160 to 161, I built an arena at the Sulfuric Sea to go fight Aquatic Scourge and Old Duke later on. And then for the next 4 days, we set off a ton of bombs in the jungle, spawning a ton of Planteras in at once, and it was absolutely hilarious, because once we killed one, another one would spawn because they were all in queue to go and spawn in. On day 166, we decided to actually make a real Plantera stadium, because we wanted to finally fight here so we can actually progress in the game. On day 167, we headed over to the Sulfuric Sea Arena to go spawn in Calamitist. This boss is extremely well made, and I just want to real quick say thank you to all of the Calamity devs and mods that made this mod possible. This mod is extremely well made, and especially this boss fight. It's by far the best boss fight we fought so far in the series. Although some of us did die, we finally defeated Calamitist, and it dropped a ton of good things that we needed to progress in the game. On day 168, I headed over to the Brimstone Biome to go get this special ore that I needed from it. This ore made my next armor set, and this armor set was insane. On day 169, we decided to spawn in the Aquatic Scourge, the next boss on the boss list. This boss was actually extremely hard because it spit out little spike balls and homing missiles. He also spit out little poison gas balls, which did a ton of damage if they hit it straight on. On day 70, we were prepared to go fight Plantera. At least we were prepared to. It took 3 whole days to go find a bulb that was close enough to our arena so we can spawn in Plantera and then lead him over. And then on day 175, we finally decided to go make a spawner area for Plantera bulbs, and one instantly spawned in. So we all TP'd over to the boss arena, and we decided to go fight Plantera. The Plantera fight overall went really well and smoothly. We didn't die many times up until the second stage. The second stage, Calamity adds in a ton of new features, which makes Plantera actually hard. But we ended up pulling through and killed her. Plantera also unlocks a ton of extra things, including the dungeon, which was insane for progression, and for new weapons and armor. The only bad part about this is that we need to fight Plantera about 99 more times, because the range class has a special drop from Plantera that's a 1% drop chance. This drop is almost essential for a range class as well because it's so incredibly useful. I also got a super rare drop chance from Plantera, something called the Banhammer. As you can see on screen right now, here's all the stats from it. It's kind of overpowered, although I still used it. This thing does so much damage to non-boss enemies, it's actually overpowered. You can use it against a dungeon guardian and just one-shot them to get free resources. It's really cool, and well, really powerful at the same time. For the next 5 days, we all headed down into the dungeon. This is because we need ectoplasma for Spectre armor and for a ton of other things. I also put the banhammer to use to check if it really does do that much damage. And as you could see, if you could see on the screen right there, I just one-shot a paladin with it. So it really is completely overpowered. But if it's in the game, that means I can obviously use it. On day 181, I don't know how to put it, but we spawned in our first frost moon. And it was hell. We died so many times during this, and there were about 70 ice queens spawned in at once on the screen. This caused for insane lag and even corruption of video file, so I can't show the full thing because, well, it crashed and didn't record. After the frost moon, we were able to craft a ton more weapons. Also, our rogue class person crafted a new weapon called the pawn hammer. This made an insanely loud bell noise every time he threw it, so the entirety of the boss fight, we only heard bell sounds. On day 183, we decided to spawn in the Great Sand Shark. This is more of a mini-boss than a boss, and it was quite easy to defeat. It also didn't drop anything too special for us at the time of the game stage. On day 184, we headed down into the Sulfuric Sea to go get special ore that only spawned there. This is essential for both endgame and the part of the game we're at right now. On the next night, we spawned in another frost moon. We did this because we need another drop from one of the special mini-bosses during the frost moon. This helped out range class a ton and helped to make a really powerful weapon later on in the game. On days 186 and 187, we were looking around for the jungle temple, and then we finally found it and decided to prepare the stadium for Golem, which I don't know if you know if we need a stadium because I think we can all agree that Golem is a joke of a boss. On day 189, I wanted to expand our main arena, so I decided to blow up this giant thing that kept shooting lasers at us. And well, it probably wasn't my smartest idea because as you can see on the middle there's lava, and lava falls when you explode it. So that means all of the lava fell down onto our base and I had to dispose of it in the saddest way possible. On day 190, we spawned in our first ever pumpkin moon. Surprisingly enough, my recording didn't crash, and it ran actually kind of smooth. Although, there isn't much to see in this, except for us getting spawn camped by about 7 pumpkinings and a ton of morning woods. So yeah, this was an extremely fun day. After we finished the pumpkin moon on the next day, we decided to head back into the lizard temple. This time to get power cells so we can actually spawn in Golem when we are ready to fight him. On day 192, we decided to spawn in our first ever solar eclipse. This is extremely useful because we can get so many rare things that we can't normally get, including Mothron wings and Neptune shells, 2 of the most important things that we're trying to get. On day 193, I decided to go up to the sky to build the mushroom house, so we can suit the new mushroom NPC that we collected, so we can get Shroomite armor. The next day, we decided to blow a giant hole in the Astral Biome because we were trying to look for a spawner that didn't exist in the world, and we actually had to craft it. So that took up quite a while, and yeah, it was pretty sad. On day 198, I decided to head over to the ocean to prepare a boss arena for Leviathan. On day 199, we accidentally summoned in Antita, a boss that we were not ready for whatsoever, and we got absolutely destroyed by him. On day 200, we decided to spawn in Leviathan once again, and this time we actually beat him, because for some reason Leviathan does not spawn in on multiplayer, and it's a bug that Calamity doesn't seem to know how to fix. So if they do fix it, we will be fighting Calamity. But anyway, thank you for watching the video, and if you did enjoy, please do subscribe, and if you watched all the way through, you might as well like as well. Leave a comment if you have any suggestions for other video ideas, or the next 100 days. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day, and goodbye.